Hi, we're here today with Mary Kay. Mary Kay, could you please introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name is Mary Kay Hudson. I am the Executive Director for the Indiana Office of Court Services, which is an agency of the Office of Judicial Administration in the Indiana Supreme Court.
Awesome. So, how have you seen treatment courts grow and evolve?
So personally, I started working in a treatment court in 1998. I was a drug court coordinator in a local jurisdiction in Indiana. And from there, in 2002, the state of Indiana adopted some legislation around drug courts, which was a reflection of some of the things that were happening at the national level and in drug courts specifically. So then in 2002, I became the state drug court coordinator and began working with trial courts across the state to develop and implement treatment courts, drug courts at the time. We were very small when I took over. We had 14 treatment courts in our state, and that was probably pretty comparable to what was happening around the country. And then over the course of the last 3 decades, we've just seen a tremendous growth of all treatment court models, drug courts being the first, the expansion to veterans treatment courts, family recovery courts, reentry courts, and it's just been a really tremendous thing to watch, the acceptance of substance use disorder as a treatable condition, and for us to be able to provide that support to the trial courts in our communities.
Awesome. So why is it important for states to adhere to best practices and standards?
Well, when I started with treatment courts, we didn't have anything to rely on other than what we knew about evidence-based treatment and some of the legal parameters in which we were working. So we really had to be creative. And in some cases that worked really well. We saw lots of really good outcomes. And in some cases, we didn't see the results that we would have hoped for certain populations. But over time, we've been able to do a tremendous amount of research in treatment courts to learn about what works. And courts have been very eager to not only participate in those types of studies, but eager to consume the information that we are gleaning from those studies, so that they can put things into practice that are going to improve outcomes for the people who they serve in their communities. Absent a willingness of courts to do that, we find ourselves in a position where we may not be getting outcomes, positive outcomes. We may be doing harm to certain individuals. So it's really important for us to not only do the research, learn about what works well, and provide the support to communities to be able to do that. And that's where organizations like All Rise or even state court administrators can provide that level of support to the trial courts.
What role do treatment courts play in an individual's journey to recovery from substance use?
Having been a supervision officer prior to my current role with the Office of Judicial Administration, in talking to persons who participated in the programs, either pre-drug court or as I became involved in drug court, routinely we would hear that the support that the court, the judge specifically, and other team members can provide to that individual in getting engaged in those early days of treatment, staying in treatment, getting access to other services and supports is really essential. And while not everyone is appropriate for treatment court participation, we know that certain individuals who are justice involved will do better in this environment. And if you listen to graduates, some of the graduates we've seen at various conferences who have spoken have pointed out specifically certain members of the team who have led them along their journey into recovery, who have supported them in that process, and what that meant to them and how important it was to them because they'd had prior attempts at treatment that were less successful.
Yeah. Why are treatment courts so essential for providing justice in communities nationwide?
I think it's important for us to have a continuum of services available to individuals who are in the justice system, so that we can be sure that what we are doing, if we're focusing on rehabilitation or habilitation, that what we're doing is going to be in service for the long term for the community and for the individual.